One of the most widely debated questions in philosophy is that of free will and determinism, whether everything we do in our life is predestined or do we have any control over our actions. According to Newtonian physics, everything we do is already decided. Since Newton's physics deals with the movement of the physical world, we can precisely predict the projected path of an object traveling in space through Newton's laws of motion, given we have the required information. Does that mean that everything we do in our life has already been planned, since we too are ultimately made up of particles? Einstein believes so, that much of our lives are pre-decided, but then the arrival of quantum mechanics was a big shocker to his belief. Einstein struggled to come to terms with his discovery and famously said, "God doesn't play dice," seeing the randomness in the appearance of subatomic particles. Newton's laws of motion deal with the physical world around us, while quantum mechanics deal with the subatomic world. Quantum mechanics cannot be applied to our visible physical world, and Newton's laws of motion cannot be applied to the quantum world. While the physical world is quite deterministic, the quantum world is random and probabilistic in nature. Scientists have struggled for years to come up with a theory to bridge this gap with the theory of everything, but for now, there's none. Coming back to free will and determinism, if we think logically for a moment, it is clear that Newton's physics isn't directly applicable to us, not at least in the psychological sense. We're not like astral bodies whose fate is being dictated by the gravitational mass of objects orbiting us. Or is it? There is much more nuance and complexity in our lives than in the motion of celestial objects, whose fate is largely unidimensional. Each second we make choices, and with each decision we are altering the trajectory of our lives. Unlike planets, comets and stars, we are emotional biological beings, and our future cannot be predicted solely based on our past. Humans are certainly creatures of habit, but despite being influenced by routines, we do have the will to break away from it, introducing an inevitable element of uncertainty into our lives. This uncertainty is what defines free will, where the future remains an open field and we are free to choose. This is also how our moral and legal systems operate, holding you responsible for things you do. But that's not all. Free will refers to having full control over the decisions we make. Surely this may seem true at first. However, there are many factors like our childhood, our surroundings, genetics, and so much more which we have no control over that are indirectly contributing to the kind of decisions we make. Much of what we decide depends on where we are born, when we are born, and to whom we are born. Therefore, our decisions are restricted to the information we have. On the surface, it may seem that we have free will because we feel it, but the decision we make will always fall within the boundaries of the information we have, since due to lack of information, we do not consider other options and possibilities. Thus, it can be presumed that our actions are merely effects of a prior cause, and we are simply the medium through which inevitable events unfold. What this means is, we are just slaves of our brain computing the causal chain. Since the beginning of time, from the Big Bang, a domino effect began. One thing led to another, eventually reaching you. Until your birth, you had zero control over the events that took place. But it's now, in present, is where you believe to have control over a certain region and period of cosmos which you happen to be conscious about. Though we may think that we are free to make any decision, our action will always be an effect of a cause which is already decided. Since free will is about freedom, yet there are only two ways we can perform any action. Either when we are forced to or when we want to. In both cases, we have no real control. Both are the effects of a prior cause. While the first one is obvious, the second, our wants, are a cause of our genetics, culture, upbringing, surroundings, and various other factors. We don't choose to want something. We don't choose to like something. We have no answer to why we like something out of 100 of other things we could have liked. We just know that we like something and want something, as if it's something pre-coded within us. Some believe that while the external world is deterministic, if an action's cause originates from within ourselves rather than external influences, then it qualifies as free will. This view is known as soft determinism or compatibilism. The problem with this position is that our internal desires too are not our own. Every thought, idea, or decision is not purely original, but rather the result of multiple influences and causes. Several species exist on this planet, and their actions revolve around their desires and survival. However, in humans, our consciousness and intelligence gives us an illusion of free will. The free will we talk about and feel only exists until we have made a decision, and eventually all possibilities succumb to nothing. And this is where we feel we have some control, even if it's only a psychological illusion. We are not the only individuals living in this world. We share our fate with millions of other people, or at least the number of people we encounter in our lives. Each second we have the line of uncertainty moving along with us, which is the fate of other people, unaware of our presence, not realizing what approaches. The causal chain that makes us do what we do doesn't just occur from the events that we do, but also from the actions that everyone does around us. This makes the causal chain universal, interconnected and intertwined. Therefore, what happens to us not only depends on us, but also on the things happening around us and the people we have around us. This tells us that wherever we are today is where we should be, and everything has its own time. Now to the once in existential crisis. Regardless of what you conclude, the universe being deterministic doesn't mean we are all doomed and condemned to passive existence. You still have to make an effort to choose the right decision out of the limited prospects you have and put effort into it. Universe being deterministic tells us that realities can be manufactured, and all it takes is that you acknowledge the causes that influence it. Despite there being limited options for a decision, the results of these still remain uncertain. All we can do is put our best foot forward, because something needs to be done. That's one of the reasons why I believe that Gita is a great text, because it frees us from the bondage of what can happen to what you should be doing now. Just performing the deed and doing what you can. Even if the universe is large and deterministic, you are quantum, and what you can do next is dictated by what you till now have done, which is not certain but probable, giving you control over what happens now in the present, even if it may be an illusion. Make this video the cause of an effect that will remind you who you are and who you can be. Because ultimately, it's you who throws the dice.